Okay, chat, before we take a look at this, we are going to look at the Boston Consulting Group so you can see what's actually in this. The Gaza Reconstitution, Economic Acceleration, and Transformation. Great. Trust will fundamentally transform Gaza. A U.S.-led multilateral custodianship. So the U.S. wants to take control of Gaza for 10 years minimum. They want to invest $70 to $100 billion of public investment and $35 to $65 billion in private investment, including 10 mega construction projects. Humanitarian assistance, economic development, generous voluntary relocation packages. Look at this. Generous voluntary relocation packages. Innovative funding model based on a land trust and tokenization. Returns above a defined IRR could be reinvested in a future wealth fund for Gaza. $5K in an NFT that may or may not get you an apartment in Gaza when it's built. Social impact is for 10 years, 1 million jobs created, 250,000 direct plus 750,000 indirect. 11 times increase in Gaza's GDP per. They're literally talking about the GDP of a country that is currently having a genocide committed against them, as if this is going to fix any of this. A giant Airbnb for nobody. Yeah. 13,000 new hospital beds. 100% permanent housing, 85% children in schools. Gaza's value, $300 billion compared to $0 today. Basically, they're saying Gaza it has no value. Then Israel should leave the fucking thing alone if it's not worth anything? Yeah, you would think so. The problem is, lycanthrope, that according to Boston Consulting Group, in 10 years with a little bit of investment, it could be worth $300 billion. The financial ROI in 10 years, $324 billion in assets, $37 billion in taxes, $24 billion in direct revenue, and the trust's annual revenue to exceed $4.5 billion per year by year 10. The U.S. strategic benefits, massive monetary gains, accelerate IMEX, solidify the Abramic regional architecture, strengthen hold in the East Mediterranean, and secure U.S. industry access to $1.3 trillion of rare earth minerals from the Gulf. They're literally saying Gaza's worth $0 today, but it'll be $4.5 billion a year by year 10 when they start stealing all of their resources. Like, it's so boldly evil. The fact that anybody still works for Boston Consulting is a fucking insult to humankind. That anybody can work for a company that is making this kind of fucking proposal is gross. Imagine being enough of a goal to fucking draw this shit up. Yeah. The goal, a thriving Gaza at the crossroads of new Abrahamic architecture. The risk, Gaza is an Iranian outpost in a moderate part of the region that will threaten IMEC and undermine any future Palestinian self-governance. The opportunity, Gaza is a regional trade hub at the crossroads of an ancient sea route, Egypt, Gaza, Babylon, and incense trade route, India, Yemen, Arabia, Europe. It can thrive once again at the center of pro-American regional architecture. Gaza's economy today. Two separate economies emerge once Hamas took over Gaza. The West Bank, where Israel controls security, exhibits modest growth through relative... here, let me minimize this a little bit. Here you go. Exhibits modest growth through relative stability. Gaza faces long-term contraction, poverty, and extreme aid dependency as long as Hamas rules. Has nothing to do with Israel having a military blockade set up around Gaza. Has nothing to do with Israel controlling everything in and out of Gaza. Has nothing to do with Palestinians not being allowed to leave Gaza to work. Nothing to do with that. It's all Hamas's fault. Gaza 2035 regional vision. The IMEX bridge to the Mediterranean. Mega projects, KSA, Egypt, and throughout the region. 1.3 trillion of rare earth minerals in Western KSA. Global trade and finance hubs in the UAE. Potential connectivity through the IMEC initiative. Global tech and defense hubs in Israel. Oh, I know. There's even a fucking typo in their fucking presentation, which is wild. If you read a book about this 10 years ago, you would have thought it was ridiculous. Yeah. The empire cannot fall fast enough. Agreed. Reimagining Gaza. These are the 10 major mega projects they're talking about, by the way. Also, look at this. The MBS ring. A massive ring, highway, and tram around all of Gaza. The ring road of Gaza named after fucking MBS. These are the 10 major projects. Gaza infrastructure rebuild, UXO clearance, debris removal, utilities, and grid rebuild. The Abraham Gateway, regional logistic hub in Rafah, connected to Gaza's manufacturing zone, port, and airport through the Gaza Ring, connected to ports in Egypt, Israel, and the GCC through the Abrahamic Infrastructure Corridor. The MBS Ring and MBZ Central Highway, pave the MBS Ring Highway and tram around Gaza, replace Salah ad-Din Road with an MBZ Highway crossing the ring. Abrahamic Infrastructure Corridor, massive railway pipelines and fiber build to connect the Abraham Gateway to regional hubs across the IMEC, KSA, UAE, Egypt, Israel, and Jordan. Gaza Port and Airport, small-scale Ro-Ro Airport in Gaza, extension of Al Arish Airport plus small airport in Dania. Regional water hub, large-scale solar desalination plants in Sinai. The Elon Musk Smart Manufacturing Zone. The Elon Musk Smart Manufacturing Zone. Industrial zones along the Gaza-Israel border, feeding from and to the Abrahamic Gateway through the Gaza Ring. American Data Safe Haven. Regional data centers with special U.S. AI regulation, protected by the Great Trust and serving Israel and GCC through Abrahamic Infrastructure Corridor fiber. They literally want to build the American Data Safe Haven in Gaza. They also said safe heaven because the people that made this are idiots. I would think this was a shit post if I just stumbled across it. You would think so. Who the fuck made this? The Boston Consulting Group. Israel and the United States paid probably millions of dollars to the Boston Consulting Group for them to make ChatGPT make up a horrendous plan. Also, chat, just so you know, we're currently on page 6 of 38. There are Gaza planned cities, zero ground construction of 6 to 8 dynamic, modern, and AI-powered smart planned cities on the inner side of the Gaza Ring. All services and economy in these cities will be done through ID-based digital systems. I thought they hated 15-minute cities, but here they are. Yeah, exactly. Gaza's urban design, fostering stability and quality of life. Like Haussmann's strategy in 19th century Paris, this plan aims to address one of Gaza's ongoing insurgency root causes, its urban design. The new design envisions 6 to 8 pie-sliced shaped smart cities with mixed-use residences, commerce, light industry, and other facilities, including clinics, hospitals, and schools, and more. With large alleys at their center, the cities will be interconnected through a ring, a tram, and a highway, enabling excellent access to industrial, tourism, and logistical areas. Green areas, including agricultural land, parks, and golf courses, will separate the cities. They want the ability to put massive fences around their new AI-designed ghettos. Advanced manufacturing example, the EV industrial zone. American electric vehicle companies build factories and facilities for employees in northern Gaza and southern Israel. Minerals and materials shipped from KSA and UAE. Assembled into batteries and cars by skilled, low-cost person. Literally slave labor in concentration camps in Gaza. Literally slave labor in concentration camps in Gaza. That's what they're talking about. Low-cost personnel in factories powered by gas that they will be stealing from the Gaza Marine and PV Energy. They are literally company towning Gaza. Cars delivered in Europe with low shipping costs via El Arish Airport and 0% because it's a free trade zone, and they can now compete with Chinese EVs by exploiting, this is their answer to Chinese EVs, stealing resources from the Middle East, slave labor from a population that is currently having a genocide done to them, and low shipping costs because they now control the East Mediterranean. Is whatever AI they prompted for this shit okay? No, because they're all made by fucking sociopaths. That's the problem with all of our current AI models, is that they are designed and trained by fucking sociopaths. So this is the kind of shit they come up with. EV companies gain profits while giving a better future for Palestinians and Israelis. The innovative funding model. Land trust and tokenization. This is what they're talking about here. How Great Trust will leverage RE capital asset value chain. So the mechanism is going to be a land trust to create a self-financing and sustaining development fund to reconstruct Gaza. The initial capital assets will be going into building out the infrastructure. Profit sharing. Returns above certain IRR can be reinvested to create a new Palestinian wealth fund for the future benefit of Gazans. So the deal structuring will be estimating the valuation of the underlying assets, creating the trust, and structuring tokenized security, defining digital asset implications and terms and conditions. So this is all the terms about what your NFT you get for abandoning your home and taking voluntary migration will be. They want to digitize the asset information in the blockchain record. So I was right, it's NFTs. NFTs, of course. Create and register tokens for fractional ownership. So you no longer will have your home that you're being forced out of. You will have fractional ownership over an apartment building where you'll get an apartment when it's done. Place public lands, 30% of Gaza. 30% of Gaza goes into a trust. Offer Gazans to place their privately owned land in the trust in exchange for a token that gives them right to permanent housing. This is how they're going to say, no, we bought the land. Is you can voluntarily accept an NFT that gives you access to an apartment when it's done in exchange for surrendering your fucking land. Surrender your land that your family has lived on for generations. We will build shitty AI-powered apartment buildings by the lowest bidder, and then you might get access to one of these apartments for giving us your land. This is how they're going to say they bought Palestinian land. This can't be real. Brother, this is on the Washington Post website, and this is absolutely a Boston Consulting Group deck. Market asset to potential investors. Sell and distribute tokens via own or public trading platforms. Record fractional ownership of each investor in digital blockchain registry. Leverage assets to borrow for reconstruction. So take all the land that we just bought from Palestinians and then give it value. Use that value to get loans to actually build the buildings. Automate certain asset management activities. Land parcels aggregated, prepared for redevelopment. Enable Gazans to redeem their tokens for ownership of rebuilt residences. Enable secondary trading of tokens. So if you no longer want to go back to the apartment in your fucking AI-driven hellhole, you can trade your token, presumably for basically nothing. Governance framework, a custodianship. 6 to 12 months will be humanitarian operations. So for the next 6 to 12 months, Israel is just going to keep killing people. The GHF, which also, by the way, chat, the GHF is part of this whole thing. So some of this has already been accepted, at least in principle, by the United States. Because the GHF Foundation being created to secure aid for the people of Palestine was part of this. Year one is the transfer of admin responsibilities. So the Great Trust being created, the Great Trust is created. GHF folds under the Great Trust. So the GHF will go back in under this new Great Trust once it's created. At the beginning of this phase, Israel transfers administrative authorities and responsibilities in Gaza to the Great Trust under a bilateral U.S.-Israeli agreement. Israel maintains overarching rights to meet its security needs. So this is the United States takes over administration of Gaza, but, you know, if they feel like it, Israel can still bomb people every once in a while. This goes ahead. They'll say they sold the land was worthless because everything was on it was destroyed. Now stuff is built is worth a lot, so the token is no cranberry. It's literally they're taking acres and acres of like homes and agricultural land. You surrender that and you get a token for an apartment in an AI-driven fucking slop city. After year one, the multi-year transition period is the trust governs Gaza. So you're talking about an unelected corporation administering the entirety of Gaza. Is this just an updated version of buying the United States from the natives? Basically, yes. Except now it's not just like the end of like a musket. Now it is like F-35s flying overhead every day. It's designed to steal land, create an almost slave labor population, allow a dozen megacorps to keep fleecing taxpayers. Yeah, 100%. This is the culmination of capitalism. Ideally, Arab and other countries invest in the trust, making it a multilateral institution. Potentially, the trust's authority is expanded to a formal trusteeship. And then the end state of this plan is the self-governance under the Abraham Accords. The trust will build local capacity for self-governance. Once Gaza is demilitarized and de-radicalized, so you're talking like re-education, and complete demilitarization, the trust will transfer the authorities to an independent Palestinian polity. Protections will remain in place to secure the trust's assets and ensure long-term stability. And potentially, Gaza will sign a compact of free association, or a COFA, with the trust for long-term financial support in exchange for the trust retaining some plenary powers. The reformed Palestinian polity will join the Abraham Accords, forcing the Abraham Accords on some neutered version of a Palestinian government. How many CEOs did it take for ChatGPT to make this for them? A few. Yeah, Western independence is full dependence on the West. Yeah, this is like an even worse, more militarized version of the IMF shit. Hybrid security framework is just talking about the GHF and private contractors doing it until they hand it over to a Palestinian authority. We won't go through this whole thing because it's the same as the above. What are we looking at? Yeg, this is a leaked plan that Boston Consulting Group put together for the United States and Israel that the Washington Post got a hold of. That is essentially talking about how the plan for Gaza is not to make it a Riviera, but to make it a slave labor concentration camp to extract wealth and resources from the Middle East. They want to build EV plants. They want to build natural gas pipelines. They want to build a ring road around Gaza named after MBS. How likely is it in this your estimation? That would very much depend on how much pushback they get. And thus far, the pushback around the world has been fucking nothing. So until something changes and we have any fucking leaders with spines outside the United States and Israel, I don't know how this changes. Somebody needs to stand up to them, and it should be literally fucking everybody at once. The first 6 to 12 months, humanitarian operations. GHF hires contractors. This is already being done. So this is what the current state is. The GHF private contractors and vetted Gazans maintain public order. This vetted Gazans is fucking Yasser Abu Shabab. This is the IDF controlled and protected militias that are killing Palestinians and trying to kill any resistance fighters. The GHF coordinates with the IDF, which maintains responsibility for overall security. So this is what's going on right now. In year one, the GHF contractors will apparently fold under a new security force that derives its mandate from the trust. So the Great Trust Security Force. Vetted Gazans are trained by the GHF and gradually increase their share of the security forces. Again, this is Yasser Abu Shabab. This is the ISIS-connected militias that are currently stealing aid and stockpiling aid in Eastern Rafah. This is who we are going to see take security control of Gaza. Israel continues to maintain responsibility for overall security. Basically, they want a Blackwater private security to the new concentration camp. Yes. World leaders are still stuck on, but do we recognize Palestine because of Hamas? Meanwhile, we have Boston Consulting Group being like, yo, what if we just formalized our plans to make this a giant concentration camp and slave labor enclave? What if we just did that? Multi-year transition period, multilateral custodianship. Security force gradually transitions to being primarily local. Contractors remain in advisory and supervisory roles. Israel gradually reduces activity inside Gaza as the new force shows the capacity to secure it, and Israel remains overarching rights to meet its security needs. This continues for years, where Israel just has the right to kill people with no repercussions in Gaza. And then the end state of this is the new force moves under the new Palestinian Authority. Some contractors remain to secure critical trust assets, like their EV plants and their battery plants and their liquid natural gas extraction points. The trust might retain some plenary security powers under a COFA with a self-governed Gaza, and as a precondition to transfer of authority from the trust to the independent Palestinian polity, both sides, Israel and Palestinians, would have to agree to a long-term security arrangement in Gaza. Here you go. Gaza 2035 plan calls for major investment in Western PSC to ensure near-term security and build Gazan police capacity. So this is Western PMC. So this is paid military contractors. This is vetted. This is a leaked a good thing as the horror shows. What it was a horror show. It was leaked by the Washington Post as this is gross. This is terrible. So you watch the cost per year go down as they hire more local Palestinians to secure their own concentration camp. Effective Hamas-free aid delivery and shelters while Gaza is being rebuilt. The GHF is a humanitarian assistance-driven organization, so this is the GHF portion of this. $6 to $10 billion in donor-provided life-saving requirements. This is what the U.S. and Israeli side wants to do. Most of these horrors are not politically possible. Through the transitive proxy, the royals accepting normalization they have to balance the deal with the Arabian public. I don't foster any illusions that this is going to go over easily. I just think this is what they want to try to do. Effective Hamas-free aid delivery and shelters. So this is the GHF talking about long-term logistics and actually feeding people, which they don't do. Accelerating reconstruction with voluntary relocation programs. So this is the one we were talking about. Receive temporary housing, hardened structures set up in communities with life support, e.g. education, wash, food. Assumes roughly 75% of Gazans remain in Gaza. Assumes 90% of Gazans who remain will require temporary housing. This is $6 billion in temporary housing support, $23,000 savings on every Palestinian relocating, because it's $9,000 outside Gaza and $32,000 inside. $500 million savings on every 1% that relocates. Along with generating $185 billion in revenue for industry in the first 10 years, expect the plan to increase the value of Gaza to $342 billion from roughly $0 today, they say. Even though there's $525 billion of oil and gas offshore of Gaza right now. But sure, $0 is what Gaza is currently worth. You're talking about an enclave that is thousands of years old, that people have lived on for thousands of years, that people are already pushed into as refugees from the rest of Palestine. $133 billion investment over 10 years will be permanent housing, debris removal, security. Dude, security is $13 billion. $13 billion on security in the first 10 years. And $2 million for education and workforce development. $2 million for education and workforce development and $13 billion for security. Israel and Western world should be paying Palestinians reparations for generations. They should be. The ICJ has already ruled they should be paying reparations to those that were kicked out of the West Bank. Palantir contracts are expensive. Yeah. $15 billion in permanent residential housing, $2 billion in rail hub, $1.4 million in port construction, $1 billion in broadband, and less than $1 billion in medical facility construction. $12 billion in advanced manufacturing, $3 billion in tourism, and a $1 billion data center for American Data Safe Haven. Levers to reduce the trust investment, increased number of Gazans who volunteer to leave Gaza. So the way they want to reduce their investment, the way they want to make this cheaper is to get more people to agree to leave. Start me again. Increase the percentage of PPP investments and or expand the categories where PPP investments are used. Use debt to finance a portion of the investment. Public land can be used as collateral. Public land they are stealing from Palestinians. There is no public land that Israel or the United States or this great trust own. What public land are you using as collateral? International aid contributions to lower expenses, expedite construction timelines, reduce temporary housing costs, shifting economic recovery and self-funding earlier by, again, getting more people to leave. $320 billion asset value by year 10 creates significant value for involved stakeholders. In broadband, the Great Trust will get $100 to $130 billion in value in their 30 to 40% ownership of Gaza's lands. So this is the thing. The trust is going to own 40% of Gaza just as an investment vehicle. They want 380,000 families, 2.1 million people, to have an 1,800 square foot residence. Residence is valued at $200,000 each, which is roughly equal to 1/10 the price of Tel Aviv, and cumulative value of more than $75 billion. Permanently relocating Gazans, 90,000 families or 500,000 people they want to kick out forever. Each family getting $55,000 to relocate plus subsidized rent for 4 years. If you agree to leave and never fucking come back, you get 50 grand and subsidized rent for 4 years. They want to move in advanced manufacturing with similar capacities to TSMC, Arizona, or Nevada, Tesla gigafactories, construction costs of that, and then annual revenues up to $10 billion from their gigafactories they want to create in Gaza. $3 billion a year in tourism. They want a 50 to 100 megawatt hyperscale data center with a $1.5 billion upfront investment and $300 to $700 million in annual revenue from a massive fucking data center. Repair all current facilities, 36 hospitals, including one specialty cancer treatment center. Creation of 13,000 new hospital beds. $2.1 billion total construction costs. 10-year annual revenue of $6 billion. Gross margin of $3 billion made over 10 years. Repairing hospital. How are you going to make that much money when it's supposed to be public health care? Are you privatizing healthcare in Gaza now? Certainly seems like that's the plan, right? Is to privatize healthcare, make it unaffordable for anybody in Palestine to actually get healthcare. That's the only way you turn a profit on these hospitals. TSMC's Fab 21 is going to deplete Phoenix of all its water. Yup. They've destroyed infrastructure. Putting up hotels alone won't do much. Needs sewage, hospitals, electricity grid. Oh, 100%. Mary, that's what the whole first part of this is. Also, welcome in, brother. Good to see you. The whole first bit of this is rebuilding infrastructure. You didn't see the map. Hang on. We were on page 18. You want to see the map? Look at this. Where's the here? This is the map they put out. All of these are going to be Trump Riviera and islands, world-class resorts along the coastline. Oh, we didn't even look at this one because we switched to the fucking regional data centers. All of these are going to be world-class resorts along the coastline and on small artificial islands similar to the Palm Islands in Dubai. They want to build small islands offshore for Trump to put fucking hotels on all the way along the coastline. The same regime that couldn't even complete the build of a border fence. Yeah. We completely missed the fucking Trump world-class resorts along the coastline. So each of these blue areas is cities. Each of the blue areas are cities. The red is the Elon Musk smart manufacturing zone. The gray here is the American data safe haven. Will spend and kill infinitely more, all to ignore the real solution, empower Gazans to lead their own reconstruction, prioritizing the democratic control, of course. But that would involve them thinking Palestinians are people, which they don't. This is a planned map of the techno-fascist project. Yeah. I did not know they released a whole-ass guide on what their plan is, aside from that one AI image. The Washington Post got a hold of this Boston Consulting Group deck that lays out the entirety of their plan for just a techno-fascist concentration camp. Primary investment categories. Unprecedented public-private partnerships to rebuild Gaza. Category description. Permanent residential housing. Construction of medium-sized, 323 square feet per person housing. You know how fucking small this is? Medium-sized? 300 square feet per person? Bro, I live in Toronto. We have tiny fucking condos. I was in a one-bedroom that was 600 square feet, and that was small as fuck. 300 square feet per person is unheard of. What is this, a building for ants? Yeah. Construction starts in year 2, completed by year 8. Buildings can be built within a year. Assumes 70% great trust, 30% private investors. More like solitary confinement? Yeah. Gaza initial infrastructure rebuild. In years 0 to 5, the trust will invest foundational activities required to prepare Gaza for long-term infrastructure and economic development investment. UXO clearance includes detection, removal, safe disposal of unexploded ordnance, completed by year 5. Sorry. So it's going to take 5 years to clear all of it. Yeah, IKEA apparently is going to be involved. That's where they're going to buy all of the furniture, so it falls apart in year 2. Large-scale clearing disposal of rubble, collapsed buildings, and hazardous materials assumes 100% removal of debris by within 4 years. 1, provision of short-term modular shelter solutions to house displaced people who remain in Gaza. Financial support for 4 years to Gazans to relocate. Package, food, rent, etc. 100% of Gazans in Gaza have permanent housing by year 10. Basic infrastructure of roads, bridges, tunnels, public transport, an airport, temporary long-term power, electricity, water, sewage, waste management, and emergency response infrastructure, 2 to 10 years to complete all of them. The security of Gaza includes the estimated cost of security forces, including Western, PSC, TCN, peacekeeping forces, which are optional, of course. Local police need to ensure security within Gaza. Cost includes salary, weaponry, and body armor uniforms. Average jail in the U.S. is 117 square feet. They're proposing almost 3 cells per person. I mean, fair. Fucking life of luxury, dude. Wet sock for everybody that worked on this? Yeah, 1 perpetually wet sock for everybody that even looked at this fucking deck. Education and workforce development. Dude, it's something to be said. They're spending 4 times as much on security as they are on workforce and education development. Education workforce development includes CapEx, construction of schools, OPEX, teachers, costs for students aged 5 to 14 to attend grade school, 15 plus to attend vocational schools. So notice how they're not talking about universities, by the way. They are breeding a workforce here. This is slave labor. This is concentration camps, and slave labor. The reason it's vocational schools is because they want to train fucking electricians and plumbers and whoever else to build these buildings and to work in their fucking battery plants. This is not talking about actually sending people to universities or higher education or learning anything outside of how to be a worker. Assumes all students aged 5 to 14 in grade school with a student to teacher ratio of 17 students per teacher, 421 students per school. Vocational schools, 20% of Gazans aged 15 to 39 attend vocational school. With 1,200 students per campus, 42 campuses are needed to support expected students. 40 schools are constructed per year with a cost of $5.6 million. Their education and workforce development includes no higher education. It's elementary school and then vocational school. Like, literally go learn the basics of how to read, write, and do basic math, and then go fucking learn how to make batteries. Learning things would mean learning about oppression. Exactly. So their education and workforce development plans include no money at all for any kind of actual higher education. This assumes that Gazans of working age will be able to find employment in the following industries or locations: tourism, security, medicine, advanced manufacturing, public sector, regional data, rail, port, education, and other construction. How are you going to have people finding work in medicine if you have no universities, if you have no medical schools? How are you going to have people finding work in medicine if you only have grade school and vocational schools? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Public-private partnership investment. This is going to be by leveraging a PPP model for key infrastructure investments. The trust can leverage private capital, industry technical experts, and shared accountability to accelerate project delivery, improve efficiencies, and deliver high-quality, sustainable infrastructure to support long-term economic recovery. It's fucking AI slop using public-private partnerships to build hospitals, broadband, rail, and deep port construction. Private industry CapEx is going to be looking at tourism, a regional data center, and advanced manufacturing. This is Tesla, AWS, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel Group, IHG Hotels and Resorts. This is Trump building hotels, AWS building a massive fucking data center for the United States, and Tesla building a gigafactory. And we're not going to go through all the financial modeling because it's fucking gross. But that is the gist, chat, of what they're talking about. Please, no more giga anything. Just leave them alone. I know that was a long time looking at this document, chat, but I hope this was educational for people. I hope this was something that people can see the fucking evils of capitalism in and can see what the plans for Gaza are with the United States and Israel.